Brazil potentially twice here, saying, you know, that's not going to work anymore. You see the Saikon of the Samsung family actually has stayed in prison now for 3 months. In the business world, there was an interesting article in the Wall Street Journal where they compared CEO separations for the last 5 years compared to the 5 years before that. In the previous 5 years, 1 out of 8 forced CEO dismissals of major global companies were due to ethics violations, 1 of 8, and that was the previous 5 years. In the last 5 years, it was reported in this PwC Wall Street Journal article, it moved to 1 in 4. It gone from 1 to 8 to 1 in 4, and we see it at Wells Fargo, we see it at Volkswagen, we see it at United Airlines, that companies and their executives are being held accountable for their words and their actions. And if you really think about the way that this was structured in the past, there were regulators that kind of stood between companies and customers. And those regulators have really been replaced by the court of public opinion. You know, we all saw the embarrassing incident with United Airlines that was viewed 100 million times in China within 24 hours, right? What the regulators are going to do actually doesn't matter nearly as much as the impact that the digital transformation has had on the world over the last 20 years. So the digital transformation, you know, it brought the internet, it broke down those barriers, it makes everybody a reporter, it makes every conversation real. And we think that that digital transformation has directly caused this ethical transformation happening because those conversations have to go somewhere. So if you think about this, where does it leave companies? Well, where it leaves companies is not in as much control as they used to be, right? You can't throw a PR firm out to spin the situation that happened at United Airlines. You can't message your way out of where Wells Fargo and Volkswagen saw themselves. And I think more and more what that means is companies have to really look inside themselves. They have to understand the behaviors of their employees. And I think they need to focus more on ethics than compliance, right? Compliance is about not doing the wrong thing. Ethics is actually about doing the right thing. And we're seeing more and more companies leaning into that. There was a recent article about Citigroup where they've actually hired a chief ethicist, not a chief ethics officer, but a chief ethicist. He's a professor at Princeton University. His name's David Millar. He got brought in by the board because at one point it was reported they had like 2,300 policies inside the company. And one board member asked a crazy question, how can anybody remember 2,300 anythings? And they realized that they had gone so far into the trying not to do the wrong thing that it was actually impossible anymore to even understand what the right thing was. And so I think it's an amazing time to be in this business. We're very passionate about building technology that helps kind of measure how our business decisions impacting the ethical foundation of companies. And the conversation that we want to have with you today is how to actually use ethics and compliance as a leading force, as a leading indicator of the company. I've got an awesome guest here in Casey Chappell, who is with American Express Global Travel Services. And as we were preparing for this, she actually brought up a couple things that I look forward to her sharing with you, but they really do lean into this as why you should work with them. And it's interesting because as I travel the world, you know, one of the things that I sometimes hear is, oh, we're trying to get budget, we're trying to prove our ROI, we're trying to prove, you know, get more resources or even defend the resources that we have. And I think that if you can really lean in and don't worry, don't come to try to defend $1, show how you can help the company make $1 million, show how you can help the company make 10 million. That's the conversation that we're gonna have here today.